This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
It's been proven that the more that we can activate the amygdala, the fear center, the more our capacity for courage increases. If I go to the beach and the waves are a bit bigger than I like, even if it's just one wave to get my heart rate up, to get my fear sensor activated, I gotta go.
We're going to suggest 7,500 miles. But for those of you who are like listening on the other side of the world, roughly 12,000 kilometers, there's a Swiss-born Australian who is also an eternal optimist, who has also written a book about courage, The Courage Map, who is also figuring her way through as an entrepreneur. And the universe sometimes decides that you meet like your soul sister, right? Or your soul brother who's doing really cool shit. And there's times where I get caught and I'm like, I don't recognize my country. And there's times where I'm like, the world is really, really overwhelming. And there's other times where you're like, wow, it's so cool how small the world is right now that I could find somebody in Australia who's 7,500 miles away, who also has her own version of a love story with the word I care deeply about. And I'm so excited for this convo. I forget already how we got connected because it's been a while now, Franziska. And I'm going to call you Frankie. Frankie's cool. I go Frankie Iseli. Is that?
Yeah, that's my rebrand. Yeah, that's perfect.
I like it, Frankie. And Frankie is, I mean, you wear many hats. I mean, you're an adventurist. I think you're like, weren't you a pro surfer?
Oh, no, I do some local competitions, but I'm far from being a pro surfer. No, but I was married to a pro surfer, so maybe that counts a little bit.
Yeah, it counts. That counts. It works with the persona, though. It works with you're an ocean lover for sure. You're an ocean lover, right? You've got many cool things you're doing in that world. Embarrassingly enough, you know Encinitas, where I live, but I don't know anything about, like, I've never been where you live. Still waiting for an invitation to speak, maybe. At some point, maybe I can get over there. But I would love to, I just love when the world works this way and you meet somebody that cares about the same thing that you do. And I think that's how we both feel about the concept of courage. And like I said, you're the co-founder of Basic Bananas. Maybe you can explain that. I think you've got Oceans Lovers is another, right?
Yeah.
And you're truly on a mission to help others lead with heart and creativity and purpose. How am I doing?
Yeah, I'm so glad that we got connected, and I do feel like you're almost like the male version of me, or I'm the female version of you. And when it comes to these things, and I do want to give a quick shout out because it was Sue Itzo who introduced us.
Sue.
In
beautiful.
case you're listening, she's a beautiful soul. And she was my partner at Basic Bananas in the US. So that's why I was in Encinitas, in your town, quite a lot. And I do love your part of the world too. And it's just so great to talk about courage.
I got to say, I miss Sue. And Sue is now she's always going to be an Encinitan, but let's give her like a big shout out. She's now running the show, I believe, helping run the show at Modern Elder Academy, which is Chip Conley's baby. Chip's been on the show before. I think things are going well because they opened up their second campus in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Their first one's down in Mexico and Baja. And Sue is at the second campus. Sue, I promise you, Courageous is coming. We're coming to the campus. We will be there. Promise you.
I think you and I, because we are also working on a research study, probably going to be the biggest research study that has ever been done on courage. So I'm pretty sure, Ryan, you and I, we're going to be doing a tour of all the campuses where we're going to share our findings, including Australia. So a great opportunity for you to come here. And I did said to you before, I just started listening to Return on Courage, your book, and I really love it. I feel like your take on courage in business is crucial right now. Even your book came out in 2019, I think. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
now look at us. I mean, 6 years later, and this book needs to make comeback again because where we are at in the world with change, accelerating AI, we need courage.
Frankie, we're here to talk about you, not about me. Let's talk about the courage map. Give me like, what was the thought behind the map? Like, where did it come from? Was it like you knew going in, or like, okay, fine, I can't help but not. But like, when I think about my book was very much like you're a detective, you're a documentarian, and you're just trying to like follow the trail and listen, right? So, but for you, for Courage Map, give me like, take us behind the scenes of what your process was like. Did you kind of know and have all the answers? Was it a journey for you? I'd love to know more.
Yeah, and similar, I was almost like pushed into the topic of courage. And it actually started with Mind Valley. So I spoke at one of the A-Fests years and years ago on, I think it was on a different topic, maybe like making an impact or something, a project that I was working on. And then the Mind Valley guys in Vision said, hey, would you do a program? And this is almost like 8 or so years ago. They said, hey, would you do a program on how to be bold and how to achieve the impossible? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to say, but hey, if they ask me to do something on that topic, I can figure it out, which I did. So I did a program with them, one of the quests many years ago. And I'm like, cool, this was fun. And then I did a motorcycle ride from Switzerland, my home country, to Kazakhstan along the Silk Road, the 12,000 Ks or the, I think, 8,000 miles roughly in miles. And for parts of this ride, I was joined by another shout out to Mike Klein, one of my dear friends who is also an amazing entrepreneur in the US. And he was the one that kept pushing me and asking me really deep questions about courage and saying, hey, you should write about this because you're living it. I can see you do this here on this road and on this road trip. You must write about it. And that's when really I accepted the challenge. And on this ride, I started writing the book, The Courage Map. And that's also why it's called The Courage Map, because it's about creating your own map. And it's using the analogy of adventures and traveling, journeying to understand courage.
Wow. How long did it take you to write it?
That one, I would say, probably took a good year from beginning to publishing. And I'm working on the next one, and it's taking me already 2 years for this next one. Just because usually with most books, and with most books, I write the first draft, and then I look at it, I'm like, rewrite. So I would say a good year.
Right.
This is another really cool story that I would say some of the listeners can maybe tune in and learn something and apply to their own businesses or personal lives. When I wrote the book, The Courage Map, I was thinking about who would I want the foreword written by. There was only one person that I knew I would want the foreword by, and that was Sir Richard Branson, because he's the one that really inspired me to be irreverent, I think is the word, to do things my way in business. And when I first started my first business in 2009, I read his book, Losing My Virginity, and then I read the other one, Finding My Virginity. And he really inspired me with his courage. And so I wrote on the first page of my book in the manuscript, I said, foreword by Sir Richard Branson. And I didn't know yet how I'm going to do that. I wrote the whole, I sent it to my editor and my publisher. And my editor came back and she said, I saw foreword by Sir Richard Branson. If you can't get him, I know a few other people that would be interested. And I said, no, Jackie, I'll get Sir Richard Branson. And a few weeks later, I got an invite to do a talk at this Web3 seminar retreat on Necker Island. And it was not the ideal time to go. It was April. And I was pretty busy already with work, and it's pretty far from me, from Australia, to go to Necker Island. But I thought this is my only chance. The universe is throwing something at me so that I can actually make this happen, this forward. So I went to Necker Island. It was this Web3 tech summit with a bunch of investors. And Richard Branson was obviously there. I spoke to him over the 4 or 5 days, had little chats. And then only on the very last day, he was sitting there, and I'm like, I need to get some courage now to ask him because I didn't want to bother him. We had a really good time, and they don't want to be there to
Yeah.
ask for stuff. And he was sitting reading his paper, and I was sitting down next to him, and my heart is pounding. I'm like, Richard, remember how we spoke a little bit about the Silk Road journey I did, and how I love to inspire others to be more courageous, and I've written this book. Would you write the foreword? And his response was, hey, Franziska, I like what you do and what you're all about, but I only write one foreword per year. And I thought, okay, that's his way of brushing me off. He said, just send it through. And I sent it through to one of his team members, and his team member, after a few weeks, got back to me and said he'll do it. And then a few weeks later, again, he sent me the foreword while I got his email with his foreword while I was sitting in a Virgin lounge in Sydney.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you just like start levitating on the spot?
Yeah, pretty much. I got the yes when I was walking through New York. I was in New York for another event I was speaking at, and I was levitating then. When I got the first yes that he's going to do it, I was pretty much levitating across the river in New York.
Do you feel like courage for you is a practice now?
Yeah, I think it's a practice for everyone. And you and I, we've done a lot of research into courage. What does it mean? How do you get it? Do we all have it? I always ask the question, do we all have it? We all have it. We all have the capacity to increase courage. And I did some studies into neuroscience and the brain and how it functions. And we know that there's this brain center, the amygdala, which is the fear center. And it's been proven that the more that we can activate the amygdala, the fear center, the more our capacity for courage increases. So the more that we can make ourselves feel uncomfortable, the more courageous we get. So yes, your question, do I practice it every day? I definitely love putting myself into situations where I feel uncomfortable, whether it's physically uncomfortable, because as you mentioned, I do surf. I'm far from being a professional surfer, but if I go to the beach and the waves are a bit bigger than I like, I will stand there and I'm like, oh, my heart is a bit racing. I know this is not dangerous. I know I'm not going to die. Let's go.
Fear is a funny thing. It's a pesky thing, and so I'm curious, how do you navigate fear? Especially fear of failure or this one. Like, do you feel judged? Fear of judgment or fear of uncertainty in your work and in your life? How do you navigate these things?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I've thought about this a lot, especially the fear of judgment, because I grew up in a place, Switzerland, where people care too much about what other people think about them. And I grew up in a small village, and so everyone knows about everyone, and like looking out of the window and look what they're doing and look what they're doing. And I kind of grew up with saying, oh, you can't wear this because what are they going to think? Or you can't say this because, and so I almost just really rebelled and did the complete opposite. And I think because of this, and we know that everything in life is about the story we tell ourselves. And so I think back then I could have gone one way, which is, oh my God, I'm always judged. I need to be doing what other people want me to do. Or I tell myself the story that I don't want to live like that. So I personally don't care so much to be judged. I think what it comes down to, and I just did a keynote in Cape Town last week, and I found one more thing that is part of the equation of courage. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this too, because we always talk about, and the definition of courage is that it's about facing our fears, feeling uncomfortable, and taking action anyway. And then I thought about this. I'm like, oh, there's something missing. And the bit that is missing is knowing really deeply what it is that we want. Because what I want is different to what you want. And let's say I just came back from hosting another motorcycle ride in South Africa, and many people look at this and like, oh my God, you're so courageous. I could never do that. I'm like, no, but it's not that. Because if somebody asked me if I wanted to do a car race, I'd be like, no, I don't want to do a car race. And it's not that I'm scared. It's because I have zero interest in cars. And it's the same
Right.
somebody else doesn't want to do a motorcycle ride through South Africa. And it's not because they're scared mainly, probably it's because they don't really maybe want it enough. And so how do we navigate fear? I think it starts with knowing what is it that I want? Do I want to run this business? Do I want to grow this business? Do I want to have kids? Do I not want to have kids? Because even that question, I have lots of friends that don't have kids. I have 2 young daughters I mentioned before. But there are lots of people that are like, I don't want kids. And that's, again, I have friends that are being judged for that decision. And I don't get that. It's like, it's a decision that is based on what they want, not what society wants you to do. So I think that's one of the latest things that I've figured out is it comes back to really, truly peel back all the labels, the identities we've been given, the beliefs we've adopted, and understanding exactly what it is that we want. And then acting from that place of truth.
I don't know if, I'm not here to put my definition into your world. You know what I mean? Like, I think we are aligned on this idea, right? But I would, as you were sharing this, my brain toggled between 2 arenas. It started, and I think I actually think this might not be the right place, but it started in our, how we have we talk about knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage. Like that's our definition. And if you remove one, then you're working on something else. So I started down the faith bucket because there has to be, faith is conviction. There has to be like belief and like, but the more I think about it, I actually think it's knowledge. I think it's like, this is the problem is that we're living through a clarity epidemic right now where people aren't as clear as they should be on what they want. And they're actually allowing society they're actually in reactionary mode. There's so much fear. They're responding in all these directions. It's like, I feel like you and I can talk about what keynotes we did where all day long. I did a keynote I was in Milwaukee, which is in the middle of America, with a company called Kohl's. And I talked about that we're living in a worry war right now. And we've been in many worry wars before, but this worry war is worry war 2.
Yeah.
Worry war 1 was the pandemic, and there was an isolation epidemic and illness. And we didn't really win that war. We just slipped right into worry war 2. And worry war 2 is, at least over here, it's like, it's our government, what they're going to say next. It's the cost of eggs. It's an empathy erosion at work. There's all these things that are flooding us, and we're responding to those things versus getting clear on what we want and doing it anyway. And so the amount of times I've said you can't be courageous when you're cloudy, and in business we talk about your true north, what's your North Star? It's like, well, can you see a North Star on a cloudy night? No, like your job is to get clear on that path first. So I agree with you. It's like you have to know what you want. And once you know what you want, the more you know you want it, if you keep waking up thinking about it and you think about it the next day and the next day, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you have sweaty palms.
Yeah.
That's kind of how you know that's the one you're supposed to go do. Like, but that's not like, it's knowledge first. And then as the more it stays with you and it builds and it bubbles and you're scared and the little voice is like, you can't do it. Oh my gosh, why you? And you're like, universe, why do I keep thinking about this idea? Then it goes into the faith bucket. And then to your point, it's like, as you said, it's like when you know and you have that desire, it's not about like what I might want is very different than what your friends might want, or that doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Like we're not in Switzerland anymore talking smack about everybody. It's like, right. So I love where your head's at on like, it's going to be different for everybody. And even your comment, and we talked a little bit about, does everybody have the capacity to be courageous? I'm not surprised to hear another optimist say yes. I've also seen way too many people flooded by fear where they're not leaping. They're not going for it. They're sort of in settle mode. They're paralyzed by fear. What's your advice to them? Like, what do you do to help them? Like, yes, you got to want to be helped, but like, how do you short circuit that group?
I find it so tricky. I find that so tricky. And I know lots of people, including in my family, people that are so paralyzed by fear And, one of the first things often that I would say is stop watching the news because, and maybe find more
Totally.
sources, because many of these people that I know that are so paralyzed by fear and the world ending and can't do anything because they think the world is ending, it's because they watch the news that are incredibly biased. And so one of the first things probably is stop watching the news. The other thing, when you were just talking before, that I've been pondering a lot lately is this concept of curiosity. Because I completely agree. I think we have the same thinking
Yeah.
about clarity, knowledge, need to know what you want. And we have to stay curious, especially right now when we're in this second, you call it the second, what did you call it?
Worry War 2.
Yeah, the worry war too. Never heard of this term before, but I'm going to borrow it. We're in the second war too, as you say. We need to stay curious and we need to ask questions, because all the best things have come from asking questions. How can I do this better? How can I improve this? How can I find a better solution? How can I learn, experiment? We're in this experimentation phase right now where we have to experiment, and that's what you see with companies a lot that you work with. The ones that have this culture of experimentation, learn, fail, improve, experiment some more, they're the ones that are moving in the right direction. The other ones, you also call them in your book, like the legacy brands that are dying, they're dying a really fast death, not even a slow death anymore. And it's the same in my company. It's a lot about, I always say that with my team, if we don't fail a little bit, if we don't launch campaigns that fail, we're not trying hard enough because we're playing it too safe. So curiosity, I think, is the second thing that I would add to that discussion too.
No, it's funny. Do you remember? I don't know if this company made it over there or not, but Zappos. Did you ever hear of Zappos?
Yes. Are they still around? What are they
They're
doing?
still around. I don't have my
Yeah.
finger on the pulse of what they're doing anymore. Obviously, when Tony Hsieh was alive, he really made that company what it was, and he was like, I'll get to your word in a minute. Put it that way, but like he brought a real process to, like, those values were not BS. There was rigor. He would work the call center. Like, you imagine calling for a pair of shoes and the CEO picks up. Like, that's how much he believed in customer service, right? And I remember going to visit, and by the way, this is like the last thing most Americans want to do, by the way, is like go to Las Vegas and then go tour Zappos. Like, that was interesting to me. But like, that's what I was doing. I was going to Las Vegas.
Wow.
And I remember touring Zappos, and the first thing you see on the wall was, Zappos is a service company that happens to sell blank. It was like a blank line. And like the whole point of it wasn't about the shoes. We are a service company. We're here to make customers happy. That's what we do. So I ended up meeting Tony somewhere. Probably Tony might have been my 1.0 of your Branson story. Like, I was like dying to meet him. I wanted to meet him. I was curious to meet him. I ended up meeting him. I'm like, will you come on the podcast? And by the way, we're now like nearing the 250th episode, which is crazy. Tony might have been in the first 10. It might have been like first 10 episodes. And so I remember like meeting Tony Hsieh. I think I met him on a cruise boat. And that was my Branson moment where like my heart was like racing and I wanted to meet him. And I said, I'm writing a book about courage, and like, you're it. Like, you're the guy. Can I come interview you? And immediately yes, come meet. And so I remember flying to Vegas and and of course I did meet with the gauntlet of people on the way to Tony. But then the podcast came up and he's like, I'll go on the podcast, but you got to come back and you have to stay at my Airstream. And it was literally like he had taken over downtown Vegas. There was like 30 Airstreams. We went there. There's like a llama or an alpaca walking around.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And so where's all this going? Why am I bringing up Tony Hsieh? So as we're recording the podcast, and you can hear this is like episode 4 or 5, it's like early. He says to me, are you sure the book shouldn't be called Return on Curiosity?
Oh, I love that.
And you're like, sequel, like you can't help it. Like, okay, yeah, and I think you learned a lot about Tony also by that. And I mean this to keep him in the right light. Like, he was a curious individual. He was a good listener. He was inquisitive. He wanted to be around people. He wanted collisions. So it's interesting. Like, that's where he took it. That was like, you sure? He's like, is it return on courage or a return on curiosity? And he just wanted to like put that in your head, which was a great insight.
I actually think one doesn't go without the other. Maybe that's the next book. I think that curiosity and
Yeah.
courage go together. And you asked in the very beginning, you said, are we all able to practice courage? And I think, yes, I think courage and curiosity are a daily habit. And I even think, and I don't want to get too political here, but I even think that a lot of the issues we have in the world are because we don't have enough curiosity. Because I have my opinions, you have your opinions. I don't care about your opinions. I only believe in mine. I'm not curious. And that's why there's so much divide. I 100% know that if we could all be more curious about other people's perspectives, even if they're so completely different to what I believe, we would have more unity, better conversations, more courage, less divide, less hate, less violence. Mic drop.
And that's why Frankie Iseli is running for public office and is going to vote for Frankie.
You know what? I studied political science because I was going to get a book. And one of my good friends, he's just thinking about getting into politics, and I had these conversations with him this week. I said, hey, I don't know if you know, but I got a master's degree in political science, and I'm not going there because I realized that I can achieve more with my skills through business by running businesses, by I guess using entrepreneurship to make a positive impact. For me, that was a faster path and more. I'm not that diplomatic, I think, in the way that I like to sometimes show up. So that was a better path for me than getting into politics. But hey, you go for it.
Pass. But let's go back onto you, and we're going to talk more about you. So give me like what a day in the life is for you, because you're juggling. I imagine there's times where, I mean, I feel like I'm a compartmentalizer. Like I'm on this project and you get all of me. And then I got to go onto that thing and I'll see you in a week. And then I'm onto this thing. So, I mean, you're doing so much. Can you give us like a little snippet into like what you are actually doing on a weekly basis?
Yeah. And I wish I was a bit better at compartmentalizing. I'm probably not as good as, and again, there's studies on this that I have looked into. Neuroscience guys, a male brain generally has better ability. There's this, what is it called again? It's something in the brain. It's the wall between the left and the right hemisphere. And you might have read about this too. That superhighway is better for, is not better, is bigger for women. The corpus callosum, I think it's called. So I naturally, because I have a female brain, I a little bit less good at compartmentalizing than male brains. So what does a day, a week look like? I do like to start. I live right on the beach here near Byron Bay in Australia, and the ocean, nature is definitely the best thing for me to get centered and also to be creative and to stay curious and get into the state that I need to be in for the rest of the day. So I try to get up. I'm a morning person, so I get up early. I go to the beach, usually with the dog. Sometimes I bring my surfboard with me if there's a wave, like this morning, and then I come back, the kids wake up, and get the kids ready.
Chaos.
All that, a little bit of chaos. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And I like to take them on adventures when I can. Some of the travels are too dangerous for them to come. I'm taking them to Uganda in Africa next year. And I think it's mind blowing. I really want them to be, it's safe. I know people there that grew up there, but I want them to be exposed to different perspectives also. And then I'm very focused. I do use caffeine, whether it's, this matcha latte here, which is a hidden drink, or a real coffee. I like to use caffeine in a way that I drink it and then I get completely sapped into a project. I would say a lot of my time is still focused on Basic Bananas, which is our marketing training organization. I would say 60, 70%, 10, 20% speaking at events. And then I've got another company, Ocean Lovers, which is another 10, 20%. And then mentoring. I'm involved in a few board positions. So mentoring board meetings, stuff that is interesting, can be a little time consuming. And yeah, I sort of just, I always say, oh yeah, it would be good. I'm going to map out my week with all the Monday I do this, Tuesday this. I never do, because I love, and this is probably why entrepreneurship suits me. I love unpredictability. It's also why I like riding motorcycles or going surfing, because all of these things have a huge level of unpredictability in them, because you never know what's around the corner. You never know what the ocean is doing in business. You never know what's happening. So my week is a little bit unpredictable, other than the things that are blocked in. I have also started to get a bit better at understanding the whole concept of circadian rhythms. And there are lots of studies on this too, how if you understand your circadian rhythm, you can map your day around that. So I don't normally do meetings in the mornings, because that's my thinking, strategy, writing time. And then most of my meetings happen in the afternoon. I often try to clock off early.
I have a question on that. I have a question on that. Do you feel like, I feel like my rhythm has completely changed since I moved to California. Like when I was in New York City, my best writing was at night.
Really?
Like oh my God, yeah. You were just like, I don't know if it was just age or who knows, but like you'd go out, you'd be stimulated, you'd find a napkin, you finally had a little you time, and like I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this, but I'm just gonna write it down and hold this for later. Like store it away, like a little squirrel with a nut, right? A little acorn. But now I'm with you. I maybe it's San Diego too. San Diego, as I'm sure you know because you've been here, it's a morning town. It's not New York. New York City is like, I think even with the time difference, San Diego closes before New York even opens. Like they're just different. And I've come to love San Diego. So my best writing, like I need to block time in the morning when I'm freshest, and somewhere between, I try not to do this to my family, but like once the kids are to school, I'm writing. I want to be writing. That's when I'm clearest, I feel. So
it's interesting how your style adjusted to the place where you live. It does make sense. For me, it's always been the same. It's always been the mornings, and most of my books I've written early in the mornings. Now it's this. That's why I've taken so long for this next one, because now the kids are usually there in the mornings, and I've tried to force myself to do evening writing, and I really struggle. Like every night I sit down in bed and I'm just sitting at my laptop and I'm like, I got nothing. I got nothing.
It's hard to go all day, and then, I mean, at some point, just use the motorcycle metaphor, the tank is empty. You've been riding around unpredictable corners, and you expect to like still, when you're on fumes. I get it. I totally get it. I'm curious of something you haven't done yet that where this question's already going, right? Like, what is the thing that you should be doing, you want to do, haven't done it, haven't even started to plan it? So I'm taking out the study we're talking about, I'm taking out the Uganda trip, which are both adventures. Is there something on your short list that you're like, I know there's this little voice that's telling me to do this, and I am not doing it?
So there's one thing that has been on my list of something I would love to do. One is to ride a motorcycle all around the world. So I haven't done Africa yet, well, all of Africa. And I haven't done some of Asia. I've done some of South America, not all of South America. And I haven't done a lot of North America. So I would love to finish that. And I would also love to do the same on a sailing boat on the water. And I started the skipper license a few years ago so that I can be a captain and sail around the world. I have very close to zero experience sailing, so I would probably have to go with someone who has more experience. And so I started the skipper license. I'm just missing the theory part, which I haven't done yet, but you need to study the books and all that.
I mean, I feel like a fraud talking to you about courage. Like you're like riding motorcycles on multiple continents and you're getting your sailor's license and you're talking about unpredictability around corners. Like, I feel like, I'm sure this is a relative thing, right? Like like what's courageous to somebody is not courageous to somebody else.
Yeah.
Sure. But I'm happiest studying courage. Like I acknowledge that like my joy is in some ways, even our definition of courage, it's like deconstructing the courage salad and trying to make it as easy as possible for people to like do something. And by the way, that's courageous. It's like, I'm almost like, right? Like, well, you need to know, and then you need to feel, and then you need to do. And that's courageous. Like I'm trying to make it as safe as possible to be unsafe, right? But here you are like doing it. And here you are with deep conviction on taking action on all these things. And I think that's maybe where we've arrived at the courageous moment of the Courageous podcast. Like, I love where we took the convo on, I think everyone has the power to be curious and you should never let that die. Right. And I think the simplest way, and you said this earlier, Frankie, like never stop asking questions. Because I think if you keep asking questions, you're still on the search for answers. I'm less sold, unfortunately, from what I've seen, that we've done a good enough job going to the courage gym and building that muscle. And when you stop going to the gym or you forget about leg day or whatever it might be, right? You forget about courage day, then it makes it's like fear breeds fear, and you've now grown the fear muscle, and courage breeds courage. I'm an optimist. Optimism is my number one value, right? But as an observationalist, and again, look, let's also be really clear, folks. If you're listening to this show and you're this deep into the episode, you're clearly both curious and intrigued by taking action on something, undeniably.
Yes, two things. One is yes to all of that. There's the courage gym needs to be full because there is so much fear, and this is why we have so many issues, and that's why people don't live the way they want to live. I think that's one of the biggest things. The second thing is, you mentioned I do all these crazy things, and people look at me, they're like, oh my God, you're so courageous. Yes, on some level, but I also need to go to the courage gym in other things where other people are better. Like, for example, I'm a massive conflict or recovering conflict avoidant person. So for me to address a conflict within my team or with in a relationship takes a lot of courage. I would rather run away on my motorbike than have that difficult conversation. And that is courage. And some people will go, well, what? That's so easy for me. Yes, it's easy for you. For me, it's easier to go and, do a crazy thing that pushes me physically and mentally. So yes, I am courageous, but I also need to go to the courage gym every day. And I do remind myself of these conversations and what I need to practice what I preach. So when there is a challenging conversation, my heart is racing and I need to pick up the phone. I need to have this conversation. I need to talk to my partner, say, hey, we need to talk about something. And when I do it, I'm scared. And then the more that I do it, the better that I get. And all these things are because of how we are brought up and the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs, as you know, faith, conviction. So yes, more courage gym. We all need to hit the gym as much as we possibly can. And I think it just comes back to noticing our triggers and our feelings around certain things and then going like, okay, this is making me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Means that I need to probably address it, practice it, face it, have the conversation, do whatever it takes.
Beautifully stated. Again, I'm really glad that it's like sometimes you feel like I'm on my journey and you're on your journey, but like we're on the same one.
Yeah.
Whether you take that hemisphere, I'll take this hemisphere, and like let's see what we can do. And I know we're aligned on this. It's like I'm not trying to be anybody I'm not. If this inspires somebody, if it nudges them just a little bit to think about going for it, or I think you even alluded to this in your last comment. Like in some ways, all we're really saying is find your truth, find your version of who you really are, and don't be afraid to be that person. And go after it, right? And get after it and be that human and whatever comes with it.
There's a lot of hate out there before they establish that. There's a lot of fear, and usually hate comes from fear. Frustration, anger, hate, all that comes because we are scared. And so if we can just, yes, hit the courage gym, and hopefully this inspires you to do that. And also there's a phrase that I always repeat in my mind, and it is to always respond with kindness. Always respond with kindness. You get an angry phone call from your partner, from your mother, from your father, from your kids. Somebody is angry at you. And I call this, in my book, I call this the poop showers. It's always people that give us these showers. And it's actually funny because people refer to the poop showers all the time. Like, hey, I got a poop shower. I'm like, cool. How did you respond? Well, I need to just take a quick minute and then respond with kindness. Because we only get these showers because people are scared. People are angry, frustrated at us because they're scared of something. So always go to the gym, the courage gym, practice courage, stay curious, and always remember, just respond with kindness and see what happens.
Well, my third book after Return on Curiosity is Return on Kindness. You know that, right? I've already got the URL. No. You work on Return on Kindness. I'll work on Return on Curiosity. We'll see where it takes us. And actually, Frankie, if someone is still, we're in their ear, on their run, or in their car, they're clearly into this convo. Where can people learn more about you? Where do you want to drive people?
I would say on my personal website, you can find all the different projects that I'm involved in, I do a lot of charity projects too. And we also have a kids entrepreneurs program we're about to share, which kids can apply and they get sponsorships to learn how to be an entrepreneur. And everything is on Franziska Iseli. So a bit of a difficult spelling, Franc for zebra, Iska, Iseli, IS for sunshine, ELI.com. You can find anything on there. Or also if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere else, I'm always happy to hear from you.
I mean, my big takeaways from the episode are, if you're passionate about something, there's probably someone in the world who's also passionate about the same thing. Doesn't mean you're any less original. In fact, it should be like, you got your people. Like, I feel like if and when I come over there, I know we're going to hang out. I can't wait to meet you. Thank you for like going on the journey that you've gone on. I'm doing the same. And my other big takeaway that's a little bit more micro, folks, if you're listening, stop watching the news. Start making the news. Make your own news. What does that look like? What does your news network look like? It's very easy to sit behind the screen and critique. I call that the Muppet syndrome. Those two old Muppets that sat in the corner and just made fun of everything. It's like, go make your own news. And it is a mechanism to like navigate your own mental health, is to turn off the news. So now go. What is for me, it's the Ryan Berman News Network. Here we are. Like, what can I do that's going to push myself, that's going to drive myself? And as much as I say, like, I see myself as an observationalist, there's absolutely stuff that I'm working on right now that I'm terrified of and excited about at the same time. And so, hey, if I'm studying this stuff and I'm feeling that, I'm sure it's like, what could be more human than that? Frankie, keep doing what you're doing. It's an absolute pleasure. And when you come to Encinitas, you pick the coffee shop. I'll let you drive on that. Probably not getting on a motorcycle with you, just so you know, but I can't wait to hang out.
I'm pretty sure I could convince you to get on a motorcycle with me. And I can't wait to connect more and also have you here in Australia. There's so many different summits where people need to hear about your take on courage, return on courage. So thank you so much for everything you do here and inspire people to live more courageously. Really appreciate that.
Oh, come on. This is like two people that want to like, we're so used to like, I'm going to wrap it up. No, you're going to wrap it up. This is us wrapping it up.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.